Just got a tip, there's no debate. I know a gent that'll set you straight. It's Vinny Valentine. Good fellow who's got what it takes. A New Yorker to make no mistake. It's Vinny Valentine. And if you're feeling real blue, call on Vinny. He's gonna tell you who's better than you. Elizabeth Street, Little Italy. Hangs with his pals, yeah, that's where he'll be. It's Vinny, a friend of mine. Stand-up guy from the Lower East Side. Take it from me, he's one of a kind. It's Vinny Valentine.
Who's better than you?
Hello, everyone. I am your host, Carisa Clark. I am always happy to be here. And I'm so very excited to have my guest here tonight because I've actually had the privilege and honor of working with her outside of having her here to be interviewed. So her name is Lauren Jean. She is an author. She is a podcaster, and she is a self-development coach. So she is juggling a few balls, and I have a few questions to ask her. So welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Carisa. It's a pleasure
Oh, good.
to always talk to you.
Well, thank you. Well, it's amazing because you have so much going on, and I know that it's like just this journey and a little bit of a ride, and there's something to be said for that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm wondering, if anything, kindly tell everyone how you kind of got started. What came first? Was it the author? Was it the podcasting? Was it self-development? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, it started a long time ago, before I even had my daughter. I always had this vision in my head that I really didn't want anyone else telling me what to do. I always had
I can appreciate that.
a very free kind of spirit,
Yeah.
entrepreneurial spirit. It's always been inside of me, and I could never figure out how to get that out and to make it sustainable, career. And it really hit me hard when my daughter went to kindergarten, and I didn't have her with me all the time because
Okay.
she was there. She was my buddy. She kept me busy. So it hit me hard when I put her on the bus for kindergarten, and then I went home and I just burst out into tears.
There's something to be said for that because children take up so much of our time. We're so heightenedly aware of where they are at all times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and then they're just gone. It's like they just abandon you. It feels like an abandonment.
Right. It was a sound of silence. You got home and you heard, yeah.
Yeah, it was just extreme silence, and I was just
Okay.
kind of, poking around on Facebook, as some of us do.
Yeah,
to
sure.
medicate sometimes.
Something to be said for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of went there, and
Okay.
I was just kind of messing around, figuring out what the heck I wanted to really do.
Okay.
And it hit me when I saw, an advertisement for the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and I've always been so into nutrition, and I kind of just jumped into it because I was like, this is telling me something. Deep down inside, I always really tried to listen to my intuition.
Okay.
Not fully at that point knowing exactly what that meant or how to do it, but I knew something was telling me, you need to do this. So
Okay.
I kind of just jumped into it, and I got the whole health coaching certification, and from there, it just really snowballed because even to this day, I am constantly changing. And I got to a point where I was okay with that. Because when you finally get settled on something and you're excited about it, and then you kind of just lose the flame. And you're like, what's next? And it's
Wow.
hard.
Yeah.
It's definitely
absolutely.
hard.
Right. Yes. And then you know what the thought that comes to mind is that if you're not reinventing yourself, every couple of years, every couple of months, whatnot, I wonder on some level if that's when adults start self-medicating. Right? And that's a whole other conversation. And I think that maybe, perhaps, that's what the pharmaceutical companies, maybe want us to do. We're feeling a little low, take this pill. As opposed to, you're feeling a little low, let's find a passion. Let's find something that turns us on, what excites us. So you're really taking a health, I would say healthful, that's not even the right word.
Now it is.
Yeah. But you're taking a healthy approach to kind of being cathartic and going inward to also now come back outward.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. So, trying to really figure out what I wanted to do with this. There's, there's so much I can't even go into, but to kind of cut it so we won't go way over.
Yes.
I dove into the podcasting.
Okay.
Because I was very, very introverted. And even doing something like this is just way out of my comfort zone. But I went for it, and I've kind of gotten over lots of different fears through podcasting.
So were you like loving and listening to podcasts all the time?
I actually wasn't. This is when podcasting was fairly new. It was about 2.5 years ago. Not many people were really listening.
It's only that new? I guess it is. It feels like it's been around for a while, but...
I know, it really does.
But you're right, it really hasn't been.
No, it hasn't been. Like, we heard of what a podcast was, or we heard that Apple had podcasts back then, right?
Sure.
But not many people were really listening to it.
Okay.
And I had heard of one that I really loved. I got into it, I was addicted, and I was still figuring out where I was headed. And I'm like, I totally want to do this. Again, listening to my intuition, big time, because I didn't know what I was doing. I just kind of like said I was going to do it. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I told everyone I'm doing this.
Right.
I have to do this now.
What am I doing?
What am I doing?
The reality is you need to show up for yourself.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And it was kind of like putting myself on the spot. Now, you said you're going to do this, now you're going to do it. So I work very well with pushing myself, with challenging myself, as opposed to being in challenges with others. I challenge myself very well. If I'm in a challenge with someone else, it's not so exciting to me.
Okay.
My personality. I'm learning a lot about my personality. I have been throughout this whole process. And through getting into the podcast, teaching myself how to do it, and then I even was teaching people how to do it, the confidence level just shot through the roof.
Okay, one moment though, too.
Yeah.
I mean, confidence is pretty major. So you don't know anything about podcasting. You just know that there's a podcaster show, whatnot, that you love, and you're like, I need to learn how to do this. So then you take the time and you learn how to actually podcast. You actually learn how the technology works. You learn about just all of it. I mean, I don't even know what that even consists of, except I know how TV works. I need a lot of help from a lot of people. So you figured out how to put together a show.
Right.
Okay, with the technology, with the guests, coming up with ideas, doing the editing, and then also marketing yourself.
Right.
You came up with all of this, became a project, and then because I've listened to your show and it's excellent, and it's gone so well for you that now you realize, wait a second, I can actually teach people how to do this.
Exactly.
Because your confidence went.
Yeah. People started coming to me saying, how are you doing this? How are you doing this?
You're like, well, actually.
So I started teaching it, and I still am, just not as involved as I was.
Okay.
I'm kind of in the process of changing again, but I'm still super passionate about it. I'm still teaching people how to do it, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. So it's become like a side kind of thing.
Right.
And it's just amazing to see people start off being very scared because they're like, I don't know the first thing, how to do
They have an
this.
interest, but they don't know how to get there. And you're
Right.
someone who says, okay, I'm going to figure out how to get here. You come up with A, B, C, D plan. You orchestrate everything, but a lot of people may not have the personality to know how to do that.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying, hey, work with me. I've set up a course.
Exactly.
And let's do this. And what's the name of your course in general? What was it?
It was called Passionate Pod, although it's changed. It's just under me. I'm trying
Lauren
not to
Jean.
have. Yeah, it's just under me because, like I said, I'm changing so often.
Well,
and
right. Then that's okay.
I love it. I love
That's okay.
it.
You don't
So-
have to do one thing. That's the beauty of working for yourself. You have the right to change your mind.
Exactly. And like I said, I really don't like to be stuck to something. It doesn't work well for my personality.
And the funny thing is that I do know you. I had the honor and privilege of being a guest on your podcast, and I know this about you. and the funny thing is that it can come off as a little bit dry as well, but that's actually something that I struggle with as well too. Like I can completely appreciate where when you have the confidence, you have the tenacity, you have the skill set, and it's like, please just let me do what I want to do, and if I want to change my mind, I have the right to change my mind.
Yeah.
And that's what can be so suffocating, I think, to so many people that are maybe stuck in mainstream America, the corporate environment,
Totally.
doing everything where they're just so run down.
Yeah, because
Right.
we're all so afraid to change something because we might, do something to offend someone or to hurt someone else.
Oh my gosh,
When-
that is never the truth.
When in reality, no one else really cares because they love your
don't.
personality. They
don't.
like you for you and
No
for
one
what
cares.
you're out there teaching.
And I mean, and I feel like a lot of the times people are willing to give you a high five anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if it's the journey. But what's interesting, I know we were discussing this, and it's something I've gone through too as a creative person, is that you only want to do it if you know it's going to be perfect. You can only do it, you only, like, for instance, if somebody wants to put up their podcast show, it has to be perfection the first time, or they're not going to, I don't know what you call it, to have it air. Right?
Yeah.
Is that the same thing as
Yeah.
TV?
It's basically the same thing.
Where I know for myself, sometimes it's an ebb and flow in life. I've had Vinny with me. Vinny is my host. Unfortunately, he's not able to be here. Got to figure it out. So I'm
Yeah.
figuring it out. And I'm not perfect, and I'm human, and I'm trying, and I'm showing up. That's all you can do is show up.
The great thing is to see a show start with someone really not knowing. Like, take mine, for example.
Okay.
I really didn't know what I was doing in the beginning. I didn't have a structure. I didn't have, any marketing experience on how to podcast. I just threw myself out there. And I figured it out as I gone.
Okay.
So now I've kind of figured it out, what works for me. And again, something is going to work for someone else differently.
Right.
So to see myself from, show 1 to, I don't even know how many shows I have now,
I don't either.
over 200.
But they have evolved, because listen,
evolved.
they do evolve.
They've
and they're
evolved.
not consistently the same, and they don't
Right.
have to be.
No, and as long as you're letting your audience know that this is who you are,
It's cool.
it's fine.
It's true, and the reality is you have the right to change your mind.
It's your show.
You have the right to change your mind.
Exactly.
You don't have to be the same person your whole life as well. So, and I love podcasting too. I personally love when I'm driving, the very few times that I'm actually alone in my car, that's actually what I go to. And it's very soulful for me. And I love learning about other people, obviously, since I interview, but I love just being able to focus on the road. I don't want to listen to music much anymore, as much as I love music. I want to learn something. Because for anyone out there, if you're a parent like I am, I love books. I don't have the time to read books the way I want to. I just don't. But I most certainly have the time to listen to a lot of things, and that's what that can be.
Oh, yeah.
So that's wonderful. So you've had your own journey podcasting. Now you've also assisted others and teach them how to podcast.
Right.
And so how does being an author fall into all of this?
Well, the book it's actually not just mine. It is 18 of us.
Okay.
And it was a big project that we all did together. So it was
Okay.
kind of my first step into actually writing.
Okay.
And it is a tough process. But it was an amazing process that kind of like opened my world up. It was kind of where I was last year. I was so set on writing something, no idea where to start, and it kind of just came into my life. It was
What's
offered.
the name of the book?
It's called The Silver Lining Storybook.
Hold this, because I know you keep looking at it, so I'm just going to hold it up here, just because.
It's the Silver
Okay.
Lining Storybook.
Yes.
And like it says, it's 18 business leaders, and it's kind of our stories into something that may have seemed horrible. It could have been someone had cancer. Another woman actually helped herself heal through writing music and piano, and how those stories turned into, wonderful experiences. So it's actually very empowering stories
I love that.
from people who went
Right.
through really tough times in their life.
Right, and we all have our tough times.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah.
We just hope to get to the other side. Mm-hmm. Sometimes as soon as possible. It doesn't always work out that way. Right?
So this came into my life at a perfect time where I was really digging into my self-development.
Sure.
In a major, major way. And from there,
Yeah.
it's only changed, time after time after time. And now we're here, and I'm even thinking about going into this type of work more. And I'm feeling so empowered right now to really get these types of stories out to people and to really help people understand to trust their gut, because this is my big story. My whole thing was I was a major control freak. I'd been through 2 divorces by the time I was 30 years old. So like my story went into me letting go of control. And that is a huge thing that I talk about. And even with teaching people how to podcast, I say you just have to let it go. You just really have to let it go.
Can we get an amen for letting it go? And it's so funny because when I do prep for all the shows, I can run them very differently, right? They can open certain ways, et cetera. But we had a conversation, and then she said, let's just see where it goes. And I said, sounds good.
And here we are.
Because I don't need to control this. And actually, sometimes that's why I love interviewing, is sometimes I try to keep it going and stay with you, but
Yeah.
I don't need that to happen. I think maybe you could appreciate this, where the letting go aspect of, if you walk around like this all the time, right? Wanting to make your point, needing to be right, having something to say all the time, you can't ever receive anything from anybody because you're clenched.
Yeah.
And the significance of your hands being tight, but also your soul being tight, your energy being tight. But if you walk around, and you're just like, see where this goes. You just never know who's going to grab your hand, never know who you're going to attract. And the energy force, I believe on some level too, comes through the palms of your hands. And you can feel people's energy even if you go to shake their hand.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is a source there. So if you just kind of walk around saying, let's see how it goes.
It's kind of nice to go through life really,
because it doesn't go
not
the way you want it to.
expecting
You don't know.
Exactly.
You don't know. And some of the best things is exactly what you weren't expecting.
Yep.
Okay, that's really, really cool.
And you don't know what you can expect if you're constantly closed.
Yeah, like clenched off.
Yeah.
And those people. I've been around people where I'm like, oh, I just need to not be here. This
Yeah.
doesn't feel good.
The energy is different. The vibe is
Yeah.
different. You feel just a certain weird silence.
I know. They're probably having a conversation in their head and they're not getting along. Where here you are just walking around kind of whistling. You just learn to let it go. Because maybe perhaps what you were doing wasn't working.
Yeah.
It didn't necessarily leave you. I have a sense that when you get married and you're going into it, you have the best of intentions, and we discussed that a little bit. I mean, you were in love, you were lovingly marrying these individuals, and then realizing, maybe this wasn't the right choice. So the self-development coach, it just seems like one braids into the next. Now, how do we end up the self-development coach?
I just have such a passion for it. It's something I could talk about all day long.
Okay. Well, we
All
have some
day
time.
All day long.
Okay.
It's just something that just feels and is so right because I've gone off that path trying different things. Because like I said, I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit and I've always tried other things when deep down inside, this is what's right. These are the kinds of questions that I get. People ask me questions about, their personality and how they can kind of let things go all of the time. It's just what I'm attracting and what feels
that's so
good.
interesting.
And you know how sometimes you just try too hard to make something work and it just doesn't work?
Well, I like to call it too planting seeds and just let it see if it grows.
Yeah. You can't force something that's not going to work because then that's just going to completely reverse on you and just feel really
And then there's that saying too. I mean, granted, I'll just say the word God is going to be in it, but isn't it something like God, when you're making plans? Wait, what's the quote? I can't think of it now.
There's so many quotes.
Yeah, something about how when you're making plans, God has plans for you, or God's kind of laughing at you.
What happens when you're making other plans?
Oh, thank God. Thank you. Look at that. It's like God's voice. Isn't that amazing? That's exactly my point, is that you can, if anything, show up for yourself and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and I know that you were discussing about how you've been doing a lot. So you're taking the summer, and you're taking some time. Everyone can go to iTunes and look you up, Laura Jean.
Yeah.
And subscribe. Okay, I'm a subscriber for sure. And I know you're taking a little bit of a hiatus for the next couple of weeks, which many people do in the summer. I'm not though, because I'm here. I just happen to be here. And because you're doing some work on yourself, and you're learning and you're evolving, and you obviously need to educate yourself and have a foundation for what's your next move.
Yeah, I feel like every summer comes a change. And this is the first summer that I'm actually taking a break from the podcast.
And giving yourself permission to say, let yourself receive sometimes rather than taking care of others too, because it can be tiring.
Yeah. Well, what I'm doing now is going to be helping others, but I really want to understand it, take in, the science of why we do what we do, because people can try to develop themselves. People can go on diets.
Right.
But unless they realize why they're doing what they're doing, it's never going to get fixed. And it's just going to be a cycle that you go through. I think about people who are on diets all the time. And then they stop.
I feel badly. That has to be really hard.
Yeah, it's just, you don't know why you're doing it. You need to know the emotional patterns behind it.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, and it's just not. It's not helping your health. It's not helping your.
And it could be pick up a bottle,
being.
put down a bottle. Pick up a bottle, put down a
Or
bottle.
that.
It could be any of those things where it can get really dark because and also depending on the type of food that you eat, but it changes the chemistry in your brain. Whether or not you are picking up, a lot of it are drugs. Doesn't matter if it's going to be, pills, alcohol, food. And then some foods have toxins in them. A lot of foods, unfortunately, have toxins in them. It changes the chemistry of your brain, right?
Absolutely.
Changes the chemistry of your body.
I mean, the negative emotions alone, without you saying anything or doing anything, that's changing the chemistry in your brain as well.
Whoa, say that again. Say that again?
Okay, the negative emotions that you're just thinking are changing the chemistry in your brain.
100%. And then I'm also wondering, too, because our body regenerates cellularly, that it changes you on a cellular level.
Yeah, it's as deep as you can go.
Right. It's everything.
It's everything.
Oh my gosh.
It is everything. And that's the stuff that I'm really diving into because I can't right now go into the science, but that's my goal.
Well, because you're educating yourself on it. But you tell me it's like quantum physics. It's all these things where I'm like, I don't know. But then I'm going to come to you and say, okay, can you please give me like a 101 of what you just learned, right? Because but to not discredit that your brain also has to work way to be able to understand this information, the significance of it, and then have it make sense to your clients.
And a big thing, another thing, the reason behind everything here, what I said in the very beginning is for my daughter. I want to be able to take this stuff and teach her so that she can take it into her life. So it started with her, it went to me, it's going to other people, ultimately back to her.
I love that. I don't know how y'all feel at home, and perhaps you'll feel the same way. Obviously, I have a daughter at home who's little. But I do feel a responsibility being a woman in the world. And that when you're given the opportunity to have a voice, that to be able to use it wisely, when you have the opportunity to have an opportunity to take it. And it's important to learn as much as we can to create a foundation so that we can guide and lead our children, because the choices that we make for ourselves are the choices how our children are going to self-identify. And particularly because you have a daughter, and I have a little girl as well, the relationship with the world is going to be vastly different than that of a man. And that's another conversation, and it's the conversation that is not to point fingers at all. It's just important for the self-confidence to be able to follow your gut, to live a life of not having any regret about anything. Because who would you be if you had said, I have this voice in my head, I have this intuition, but I'm just going to ignore it and just stick over to this, whatever your other position was.
And I did that for a while.
Yeah, and every single day. And there was a time, too, where I was thinking about going to grad school. And what I felt like when I'm not living my purpose, which is what it is that I'm doing, hosting and being on the radio, that every single day, when I'm not thinking about responsibilities, just adulting, it's the whispers. It's a kind of angels in my ears. Excuse me, you're not living your purpose. Excuse me, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing it?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I can't imagine living my whole life just
being.
And it's important also to acknowledge that a lot of small goals lead to larger goals. That's what we were saying about podcasting. It doesn't have to go from 1 to 10, and it's going to go from concept to perfection. It is a learning process, and you have to forgive yourself and evolve, because you don't want to put that kind of pressure on yourself. But our daughters are watching to see what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And even if one day I'd love to be on a big network. That's a wonderful dream. But I'm going to do the work to get there, and I'm going to do the best I can. And that's what you're saying too.
Right. Baby steps. Acceptance. And embrace your mistakes.
Yeah. And unpack your baggage. Sort through that stuff. Toss stuff away so you can be healthy. Mm-hmm. Right.
And don't ignore that little voice in your head, because it's there. It's not fake.
It's not. It's that sixth sense.
It's like the devil and the angel on your shoulder.
Right.
It's like the ego, the intuition. Those are real.
I remember, so we have a mutual friend, and he is just totally in awe of you podcasting, and he has different interests which are more like sci-fi. And he lives in a video game world, which is totally a world that I don't live in at all, but I know it's massive, right? And he knows a lot about a lot that I don't know anything about. And he said, oh, I love listening to this podcaster and that podcaster, et cetera, et cetera. And they're like people that are like really, podcasting has a major following. I mean, it's incredible. And he said, I have the dream and desire to have my own podcast one day, but there's so many other podcasters out there that are already doing it. So why would I do it? Like, there's no room for me was the way that, and I said, there's room for everybody. There's room for everybody. The universe is massive. Who's to say it's just whatever you decide happens? So if he decides it's not going to be a podcaster, then he's right? Mm-hmm.
So and then you make the decision.
Right, and he's such a likable, nice guy. Like, go for it. You never know who you're going to attract.
It's true. People like you for your personality, not for what you're actually saying. Mm-hmm. They do like what you're saying, but they like how you're saying it.
Right. So although you have the right to change your mind and you flip-flopped and had different ideas, the reality is this. You've become an author of an incredible book telling your story, which is the Silver Lining Storybook. Yes. And it is excellent, and I have read it, and it's wonderful. And then also, everyone can find you, Lauren Jean, on your podcasting.
Yes.
So what is it about the last aspect of yourself where you say it is obviously self-evolving, but how's anyone able to get in touch with you, and how are you able to be helpful?
Well, my favorite is Instagram. You can find me at The Lauren Jeans. That's on Instagram.
Okay.
Facebook is just my personal profile. I'm keeping it super simple, so you can find me there under Lauren Jean. And those are really the two main social media. Otherwise, the website is www.thelaurenjean.com.
And even for your podcasting, have you found that you've leaned towards the self-development aspect of it? I feel like, because I know for the ones I've listened to, she has some fun ones.
Yeah.
And some topics you're like, whoa, I can't believe I'm here. Like, you go there.
Yeah, I go everywhere. I let it loose.
And it's so funny because if you let me look at, there's a centeredness, there's a calmness, there's a controlled aspect to yourself, not that you are controlling yourself, where
right now I have to.
the chair moves. But if you go and listen to her on her podcasting, oh my gosh, like, it's wild.
It's almost like, did I do that one? It seems like so long ago.
But isn't it amazing? Because I think that when you're living your passion, your brain transcends into a highness where you're actually outside of your body. It becomes very spiritual.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's about. It's about following your gut and manifesting.
Yeah.
And living the life that you dream about. Just being happy.
Yeah.
I'm so honored. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
I think that it speaks volumes, and you're a leader.
Yeah, it's been great. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you so much. Everyone, check her out. Check out her podcast, Lauren Jean. You are going to laugh out loud. She's funny. And there's some funny moments, so it's really great. Wonderful. Well, I wish you well. And, I'll have that back, because who knows what you're going to be up to next year.
I don't know. I don't plan it.
She doesn't plan anything.
No.
I'm glad she showed up today. Amazing.